From Uvalde to immigration, perhaps more. Our next guest will answer questions about those topics. He's Congressman Tony Gonzales, who represents Texas' 23rd Congressional District. It includes a big part of the border. It also includes Uvalde.
That's right. So we're now 1 month beyond Uvalde and the massacre there. People everywhere, but especially in that district, want to know more about what happened. As you know, that's been one of the criticisms that people have had for leaders in that area. Where are you on that, and what are you prepared to do to help people there get the answers as to what happened on that day?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Steve. Thank you, Jennifer. Look, Uvalde's a little over a month ago, and we're still healing. You know, we're still trying to get back to normal, if you will. And there's a lot of answers that need to be found out, and we need to learn from it. And it's not only about Uvalde; it's about everybody. Everybody needs to find out the truth, and I think that needs to come out. I want to wait till all of that gets shaken out. There's like 5 investigations going on, but the other part is we're getting ready for school. And a lot of people don't realize, like, teachers are getting ready for school. There's 5 elementary schools in Uvalde area. I was just in Alpine. I was in West Texas. Everyone is concerned about school. I'm a father of 6. I'm concerned about school. So we've been looking to get grants. We just got Uvalde a $1.5 million grant to help with that, some of the mental health resources and school police officers.
We want to talk about some of the gun legislation that was passed.
Sure.
In the past, speaking of the past, you have voted against background checks and closing some of the loopholes. It seems as if you changed your mind after what happened in your district. Am I right about that?
No, look, I've always been conservative in who I am. That's exactly who I am. And then after the horrible incident in Uvalde happened, I voted against some legislation that I thought did not answer it. To me, the criteria was always this: would the legislation have stopped the Uvalde shooting? And the Safer Community Act exactly answers that. So that was one reason why I voted for it. The other reason was this is the largest investment in mental health in our nation's history. So over $11 billion in mental health. So now that it's signed into law, which, by the way, I got invited to the White House on Monday to be part of the ceremonial signing. Now that that's signed into law, we as lawmakers, I don't care if you voted for it or against it, we got to bring those dollars back. Texas is ranked dead last. We're 50th in mental health access. We have to change that.
But don't we also have to talk about guns at some point? Like if it's raising the minimum age for people to buy assault rifles, if it's mental health has been a thing that a lot of people have talked about, but it also, especially after what we saw this weekend in Highland Park, do we also need to look at the way we deal with guns in this country?
Look, I think it's a topic that needs our attention 100%. To me, it's about school safety. It's about safety in general for our children. They're growing up in a completely different environment than you and I grew up in. It's a dangerous world out there. Everything should be on the table. But what I see all the time is this: it's never enough for certain people. They always want more. They always want more. Look, we passed a piece of legislation that hadn't been passed in this manner in decades. This is a time for us to go, how do we take that momentum and move forward? There's a lot of other topics too. Immigration reform, I think, is a very important topic that we need. Talk about health care, education as a whole. There's a lot of important topics. I'm looking at Congress needs to lead again. Quit punting the ball to the executive branch. Quit blaming the president, whether it's Trump or Biden, for everything that's wrong. Congress has to lead again, long term.
I want to go back to something that you said. You said that one of the things that wouldn't have solved is what happened in Uvalde, gun control and things like that. But one of the things that was discussed was raising the minimum wage to buy assault rifles. And that would have been one thing that would have stopped this from happening. Yeah,
at the end of the day, this guy should have been found out early on. He shouldn't have been able to buy that weapon.
So you're
not because he was 18.
Background checks?
Yeah, that's exactly what was in this package, was extensive background checks, in particular for juvenile areas. Because if that would have happened, which is now law, if that would have happened, it would have been identified that this person should have never been able to buy a weapon. Not because he was 18, not because it was an AR, but because he was mentally unstable. There is a mental health crisis in this country. We're seeing it every day.
But we also have a lot of women with mental health issues, and you don't have women.
Yes. Thank you. I was sitting down with a colleague of mine, Garrett Graves from Louisiana, and we're talking about, very conservative guy. We were talking about this, and he goes, Tony, why are they only men? Like, why don't we research this and figure out what's happening? This is part of the all of the above solutions. And I don't think this is going away. This is only getting worse. And we absolutely need to sit down and have a real conversation, not as Republicans, not as Democrats, as fathers, as mothers, as brothers and sisters. Sit down and solve some of these problems. There's a lot of things to talk about, but, immigration reform is another one of those.
And that's what I want to get to. Do you think I'm wrong in saying that it took something like Uvalde to move the needle
No.
on gun control. And is what we saw in South San Antonio, a horrific 50 plus migrants in the back of a tractor trailer, smuggled, just trying to get, to live the American life. Is that going to move the needle at all at immigration? Because you alluded to it. We do this dance where we blame the president if it's Trump or Biden, and we blame, all these other things. And we have people today calling it an invasion. Yeah. How do we move the needle on immigration reform?
Yeah, Steve, this isn't normal. What is happening right now is not normal, and it shouldn't be acceptable. I mean, 53 people essentially cooked to death in the back of a truck. It should get everybody's attention. And look, there's some things that the White House should do. There's some things that Congress should do. There's a few things in particular. Look, repatriation flights, if a person does not qualify for asylum, you send them back to their country of origin. That prevents other people from coming. Immigration judges. Right now, it takes 3 years to get a case heard. That's unacceptable. Increase the judges. These aren't novel concepts. These things work. If you increase immigration judges, they work. And the third thing is work visas. Look, people that want to come and work and provide for themselves and their family should be able to do that. Last year, the administration issued over 1 million fewer work visas. This is an area I think we can go all in on, and not just for agriculture, not just for construction. We're seeing vacancies in every industry, right? I'm not talking amnesty. I'm not talking build a wall. I'm not talking, pathway to citizen. Work visas. Let's start there and let's build out from there.
Can you stay with us through the break?
Of course.
I've got a lot more I want to talk about because obviously these are complicated situations.
Sure, happy to.
Stephanie and I will be right back after the break.
2 minutes. We'll see you then.
We're back live with Congressman Tony Gonzales, who's been gracious enough to join us for this KSAT Q&A segment, and we're expanding it a little bit. You have a huge section of District 23 that runs along the border.
Yes.
Del Rio, Eagle Pass, I mean, all the way to Alpine, Presidio, that
El Paso.
El Paso. When you hear rhetoric calling this an invasion of illegal immigrants, what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, look, I represent 42% of the southern border, and the people that I represent, everyone is at the end of the road. I mean, they're tired. I get it. They're upset. They're frustrated. They're mad. All these things, their lives are turned upside down. They're looking for something to change. But the rhetoric doesn't solve anything. All it does is point blame. And to me, I didn't run to be a politician to blame others. I ran to solve problems. And part of it is this. Look, I've been pushing with the White House. Our staffs have gotten together. When the president visited in Uvalde, I asked if I could visit with him to talk about the border. He agreed to that. I hope that comes through. But in the meantime, I had dinner with the president of Guatemala last week. And I go, look, Mr. President, what do you need? And he's going, help us secure our border so we can help you secure yours.
But isn't it dangerous when invasion is kind of the same language that the shooter in El Paso used as justification for him to go down there and do the heinous act that he did. When we talk about state authorities taking over federal roles and, we're a country of laws. Are we getting close to a slippery slope here?
I think there's this anger that is happening, and if we feed that anger, all it's going to do is lead to nothing good, right? And that's what worries me. What happens when ranchers start taking things into their own hands? What happens when, these different entities start doing that? That's where, to me, the federal government has to step in. It's the only way this thing gets solved. It's a federal issue, and it can't just be one party. It's got to be both parties coming together. I'm all in. I'm not looking to go, this is amazing. This is going to help the Republicans win back the House. Right. All that will work itself out. I'm going, how do we get help today? How do we fix it? The work visas make sense to me. Immigration reform makes sense to me. The securing the border via these repatriation flights. All these things are not new items, but we need to have a conversation on them.
People look to you for leadership, and it sounds like you have a very compassionate response to immigration in this, but you're not really in line with the rest of your party when it comes to this. How do you do that if the people on your side of the aisle, if you can't even have a conversation with them about this, if they're using words like invasion?
Yeah, Stephanie, I would beg to differ. I've hosted 64 members of Congress at the border. And every time, and I'm hosting 2 more delegations this month, it'll be over 70 members. And every time we come, I go, look, you're going to see the border, you're going to see all the chaos that's going on, but there's so much more to the border than just what you see on Fox News or CNN. And we sit down with ranchers. I'll give you an example. I have a rancher out in Uvalde, and he produces onions. Well, guess what? He couldn't get work visas, so he had millions of dollars of onions go bad. Well, guess where those onions are are going. HEB, right? So we sit down and we have this discussion, and I have the people that live there tell my colleagues to go, hey, this is what we need. The mayors, the judges, the sheriffs, the everyday workers. So to me, I think that's planting seeds. So when we do have a broader discussion, I go back and go, hey, remember when you visited a year ago, 2 years ago, and you had that rancher say, hey, we need immigration reform? Now's the time to have this conversation. Last thing I'll say is, in 2 weeks, I'm hosting a Democrat member of Congress from Florida. That doesn't happen. Right? The parties are so divided to come and talk about the border. So Darren Soto is coming down. I'm really excited about that. We're going to visit San Antonio, Uvalde, Del Rio, and have a broader discussion on things.
Yeah, let's not make bipartisanship a dirty word.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Congressman Tony Gonzales, always appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll be right back in 2 minutes.